I ride and died with the Eagles. For me, I ride and die for the Eagles ever since 1980. I'm 50 years old, so I've been through the ups and downs, the winning of Super Bowls, losing of Super Bowls, draft picks, busts, everything. Now, I understand that we won the game yesterday. Well, not me individually, but the Eagles won the game yesterday. We beat Kansas City, but we need to move on from that game because we're talking about a little bit too much. The Eagles beat Kansas City the year that they lost to them in the Super Bowl a couple of years ago when the Eagles had to play them. I think they played them on the road. No, they played them at home. And the Eagles won that game. It was a hard fought game. People didn't know that the Eagles have struggled through the whole game. They really couldn't do it because I see one thing about Kansas City. Kansas City has a really good defense, and people really don't give them any respect. Now their offense is going to have Mahomes, Kelsey, Worthy, a lot of good players. A lot of their players were hurt, so it was a battle back and forth. And even some of the Eagles players were hurt too. Goddard was hurt. The Eagles really couldn't run the ball that well. Um, you know, One thing about the Kansas City Chiefs, they blitz a lot, and they left a lot of players on an island. Devontae Smith dropped a couple of passes, but he had a huge completed pass that helped the Eagles get in a scoring position. Yes, the Eagles did false start a couple of times, and also Kansas City was off sides during the tush push, which they tried to ban. Which I really think they're going to consider banning it next year because the Eagles are just getting away with murder on the tush push. But what really makes me upset is that Eagle fans need to move on. We beat Kansas City before. It's not like the first time we beat Kansas City. Really, honestly, Hurts has a great record against Kansas City. I know Kansas City won the Super Bowl against the Eagles, but the Eagles won the Super Bowl too. So we need to end this to move on to LA. Remember, LA played the Eagles last year and almost beat the Eagles in the snow. So we got to move on from this game. It's time for fans to look forward and not look backwards. We won the Super Bowl. That's great. The Eagles want to win another Super Bowl. Really, honestly, I don't really think they're worried about winning another Super Bowl. They're worried about getting through this hard grind season. And us as Eagle fans, we always try to just linger around the games that we win, but we don't move on and see that we're going to play another team that's actually played the Eagles really well in the playoffs last year, even though it snowed. But you still had a good team coming to play the Philadelphia Eagles. We got to move on. Like, the Eagles won this game because the Eagles were not the better team. I don't even think both teams were not even that great because the Eagles struggled last week against the Dallas Cowboys. They still don't have any depth at corner. They still need to get this defense fixed. The Eagles have not thrown really well downfield. You still have Brown struggling. You still have Devontae struggling. Gollard didn't play. You're really starting to see the curse of the Madden curse of Barkley's not getting them big runs like he did last year because they're stacking a line of scrimmage. They're bringing their safeties down to help stop the run. I still think they need to bring Dylan in a little bit more. They got a new running back that came in from Jacksonville. He's going to be really good, but he hasn't played yesterday because I really think he's still learning the playbook. The Eagles' playbook is not what it was last year, what is really open. So I think this year the Eagles are going to struggle to score. Now, the Eagles can win games because I believe their defense is going to get better. But Hurts, to me, he needs to get a little more better at, you know, you know, trying to get completed passes. Now I know they're double teaming a lot. They're playing a lot of safeties. They're playing a lot of two safeties. They're playing a lot of three safeties. Some teams play zone against the Eagles. Some teams play man against the Eagles. But the thing is that the Eagles have the best offensive line in football, and for me, I think the Eagles need to still continuously run the football. They need just to run the ball. Stop trying to be fancy. Stop trying to do these different type of sneak plays all these fancy plays. Like, run the ball because we got the best offensive line in football. We got three good running backs. Now, I know Devontae and Brown want their catches, but it's all about winning. And that's the thing about football. And especially, you have one of the hardest, well, the fourth hardest schedule in the NFL. You want to win. This game is a big win, but not a huge win because I believe the Eagles beating Dallas was a better win than Kansas City. Now, the Eagles played Kansas City last year. I don't know why we get all hyped up for these games the next following year after a Super Bowl win. But Kelsey was talking trash. A lot of players were talking trash. Eagles were going back and forth, a lot of pushing and shoving, but that don't mean shit. You need to win. And I'm sick and tired of Eagle fans holding on to these wins. Like, we need to move the fuck on. It's only 16 games left in the season. I mean, it's gonna fly by. We'll be playing Dallas again. We'll be playing Buffalo. We're gonna be playing harder teams in the future, and we need to get prepared for these games. But these little games that we play, like, it's like the Eagles lost to Kansas City, and then the Eagles are probably looking for revenge. No, the Eagles beat Kansas City, beat them really well, 40-22, and the Eagles beat them a while ago, and people forgot the Eagles lost like 6 straight games right after they beat Kansas City. So after they beat Buffalo, the Eagles lost like 6 straight games, and you know what happened then. But now the Eagles are this team in the NFC East because Washington lost, Dallas won, Giants should have won, but it's Eagles, and I still think it's the Dallas Cowboys in this division. And the Eagles going to have to grind to actually win this division because other teams are coming in looking to beat the Eagles. And us Eagle fans, we're proud of our Eagles that we are actually winning, and they're actually, you know, they're honestly they're not giving us any respect at all. They still think Hurts is not a top five quarterback. They still think the Eagles are not a great team because we are swapping office coordinators like crazy. Our defense is not what it was last year, even though that we don't have that much depth at a lot of positions, which I believe that the Eagles need to get a corner, and get a safety and get more depth on the defensive line because you see Carter was hurt yesterday, Davis got hurt. Even though we got pressure on the quarterback, still the Eagles gotta understand teams are going to look at this game as a way of beating the Eagles is by running the quarterback. Like, you still got Allen, you still got a couple of good running quarterbacks out there that actually can break down the Eagles defense, and you can still beat the shell defense with a fast receiver because you seen what happened yesterday. The same play that they played in the Super Bowl where they threw the Worthy straight down the middle of the field, and Worthy had 2 touchdowns. And they did it the same thing yesterday. Eagles left players wide open, and it was just shocking to me that you know we're trying to be physical at the line of scrimmage, and it's very hard to be physical at the line of scrimmage when you're not pressing the receivers or you're leaving people open. And the Eagles were really, really, really should be happy about Kelsey dropping that pass because that would have been a touchdown. And I believe the Eagles would have lost the game because that would have been a touchdown. The momentum would have switched over to Kansas City. We got an interception, which should have been a touchdown, but you got an offensive lineman that ran like half a mile away to catch up to, I forgot his name. He got a little hard name, but he actually tackled him before he got a chance to score. I'm happy about the win, but I want Eagle fans to move on. Like, we got to move on to the next game. Kansas City wasn't a big, humongous win for us. The Dallas Cowboy game, I think, was better because that was the first game of the season. This is our second game of the season, and we're blown out of the water because we beat Kansas City. Like I said, we beat Kansas City before. It's not a shocker. And people say, well, we got Mahomes. We don't have Mahomes. The Eagles just beat a team that struggled last week to win, and they lost last week. So Mahomes was not trying to be 0-3, like he did in the Super Bowl. He wasn't trying to be 0-3 in the Super Bowl. But the thing is, a win is a win. And the Eagle fans got to understand that we got to move on to the next game. Because, like I said, the Rams is a good team. People will say, well, we beat the Rams last year, but we played them in the snow. So it might be a little bit different. Even though we beat the Rams the year before, But we still have to understand there's teams out there that are willing to come into our home to beat us. And we got to be prepared for that. And I'm sick and tired of, you know, that you have media still saying that the Eagles are not a great team. And we don't have to be a win's a win. You don't have to dominate. You don't have to score 50, 60 points. You need to just win. And the Eagles are doing that, even though they're squeaking in wins. Now, next week, like I said, it's going to probably be a little bit harder because the Rams is a good team, good quarterback, Hall of Fame quarterback. But the thing about it is that the Eagles need to be prepared for this game for next week and just get the Kansas City Chiefs out their fucking head and move on. We got a ring. We beat this. We beat the rematch. Now it's time to move the fuck on. Let's move on to the Rams. Let's move on to the next teams and see if we can be 4-0, 5-0, and see what the media think about us down the road. Because football is a game of just like you win and then you lose five straight. We haven't had that feeling of losing in a while. So we need to keep that momentum going forward for the next few games and see what we look like if our defense gets any better and we can start passing the fucking football. Because Hurts had a bad passing game. And even Mahomes didn't even have a great passing game. So it was a great This is the first time I have seen two teams play defense in a long time. Ever since I see the Dallas Cowboys and the Giants, that was a good game too. Good defensive game. And I've been waiting for that for a long fucking time. I'm sick and tired of 50 points, 60 points. I'm sick and tired of like the NBA type football games. I want to see some good drag out defense. And yesterday it was amazing to see the Eagles play the way they played. And yes, the Eagles were talking shit down the road, but a win's a win. And let's move on from this win to the next game and see if the Eagles can win against the Rams. And let's see if we can win the next game after that and the next game after that. Because I believe the Eagles can be that Super Bowl team, but we got a long way to go. We're thinking Super Bowl. We're thinking about Super Bowl 60, and we're not thinking about the next game. And we're so worried about Kansas City, knowing I believe Buffalo is the best team in the AFC, but we're still continuously worried about Kansas City because they won Super Bowls. Buffalo didn't win any, but still, I believe Buffalo is the team to beat in the AFC, not motherfucking Kansas City. And the Eagle fans got to understand that. We're going to play Buffalo, and we beat Buffalo before. Cool. But we got to look at this game. We got to look at each game as a game that we need to win, even on the road, because road games are harder to play than home games. And every game that we play, we need to step up. Like our offense need to step the fuck up. We need to go out there and dominate at least one time on offense because our defense is always going to play well. Not as dominant, but that they were last year. But the Eagles are going to play better defense because their defense is more like I believe our defense is just a great defense. But our offense need to be equal to our defense. Like it was last year where we were putting up all these points with Barkley. But like I said, now they're stacking a lot of scrimmage. Barkley, honestly, to me, he needs help with other backs. Like he needs to bring in other backs like Bigsby, Dillon, to actually give Barkley some rest so he won't get hurt. We need more plays that will help Brown get open, like some real routes, like some like these plays that they're running. It's like they don't even get even that far down the field, and they're doubling. They're actually doubling Brown. Brown, they're bringing more. They're bringing more physical with Brown at the line of scrimmage. Like they never be physical with him. Devontae's a lot smaller, but Devontae can get open. But Devontae needs to start catching the ball. He's starting to drop a lot of passes too. We're starting to see Devontae dropping. I don't know if he's hurt, but you also see it in Brown. I think Brown is probably dealing with injuries too, like little nicks and bruises that the media's not talking about, or the Eagles are not giving out that information. Goddard needs to be there because we don't have a backup tight end that can actually open up the middle of the field to help Brown. And you gotta get Minchie in the game because he's not even anywhere around. We need a third receiver. I want Tyreek Hill. I don't give a fuck what anybody say about Tyreek Hill. I want Tyreek Hill. Because Tyreek Hill can open up the middle of the field, and Tyreek can get you the quality receiving yards that will actually help Brown and Vontae. Because if you don't have a good third slot receiver, or like I said before, you can also put Brown in the slot. But Brown is not in the slot. Devontae is not a slot receiver to me, but he could be. But I think you need to move Brown to the slot. But the Eagles need a third receiver. They don't have a third receiver. I know they want to use the tight end a lot more. They probably want to try to, do these quick outs, screens to the receivers, to the tight ends. But these things are not going to work. Like, you need somebody to help in the middle of the field to help these receivers actually to not get double teamed. Because I know it's hard to double team the slot receiver. They're going to probably play a lot of cover two, a lot of cover three. They're going to press a lot. They're going to blitz Hurts a lot because they feel Hurts cannot deal with the blitz. You see what Kansas City tried to do all last night is blitz Hurts all through the game. And Hurts really did a lot better. He didn't turn the ball over. He ran when he needed to run. But there were a lot of penalties. There was a lot of mistakes on offense, a lot of drops. But the Eagles could probably deal with that. But to me, I really believe that the Eagles need to do something to try to get Brown a lot more catches. Because you're going to see Brown get frustrated. And they're talking about trading Brown, which I wish they stop doing that. Brown is not going nowhere. He just signed a big ass contract. He's not going nowhere. Devontae's not going nowhere. You get a third receiver that can spread the field, like a slot receiver that can get a little bit of speed. Like I said, Tyreek Hill will be perfect for the Eagles. He would be perfect. Even Hopkins would have been perfect for the Eagles. The Eagles need to trade for somebody that can help, get Brown and Devontae more quality catches, even though they're, like I said before, they're pressing Brown a lot. Devontae, I believe he's dealing with injuries. He's not as what he used to be last year. And plus they're bringing that safety over the top so they won't burn him. Teams won't get burnt over the top from Devontae's speed. But Brown, like, I don't know. It's like Brown gets a little bit like, okay, I need to move. Instead of like hitting the ball, I'm going to slide over here. But Brown actually is doing great things on offense. He's blocking. He's helping out Devontae. He's not feeling as upset as not getting the ball because the Eagles are winning. And that's the first thing he's probably going to say, we won. I know it's probably in his heart that he wanted to have at least over like 5 catches for at least about 100-something yards, but a win's a win. Let's move on. I believe he'll do better in the Rams game. Now, because he always does well against, other teams. But like I said before, Kansas City has a great defense. And people got to stop saying, oh, Kansas City. No, Kansas City has a great defense. Great line, great secondary, big-ass safeties, big corners. They can bring up with a lot of scrimmage. You see the Eagles really struggle in the run at first. They really couldn't get nothing going. They couldn't get their engines revving. And even when they got a little momentum, Kansas City came back and stopped their momentum. And the Eagles had to punt. And it driving me crazy that media is still on Hurts and saying Hurts is not that quality quarterback. Like, if you look how Hurts played the game like he's supposed to play the game. He's supposed to put his team in the position to win, and he did. Even though, like I said, they got to the goal line, it was a false start. Referees didn't call it. Like I said, the tush push next year might not be in the NFL because now you're going to see other teams talk about, well, the Eagles got the advantage. The tush push is like they'll get a false start. They won't call it. You really can't see if they jump off, if they false start, or they fall on the football or whatever. You can't really see because there's so much chaos in the middle of the tush push. You can't really see. And the referees can't see anything. So the referees were actually putting the Eagles back like a yard. Like the Eagles would get a touchdown, even though the Eagles got that touchdown the first time. The referees didn't see it, so they pushed the Eagles back 1 yard. The Eagles ended up getting the touchdown again after the tush push. The Eagles got a first down before that on a tush push, but I really think the league is really going to look at the tush push and say, we need to get that shit out of here. But you might as well get rid of the quarterback sneak too, because the quarterback sneak is the tush push. It's just that you see a lot of players helping Hurts being pushed, but really, honestly, they're not doing that. But they're trying to, a lot of teams are going to be upset if the Eagles will get the advantage through the whole year with the tush push. The league is going to look at it and probably get rid of it. But for me, I don't think it's an advantage because I believe if you can't stop something, it's like if the Eagles run the ball a billion times, you can't stop the run. You can't stop the run. So why put yourself in a position and say, well, we got to get rid of the tush push because the tush push is a better advantage for the Eagles. Let them keep their advantage. Like it's not doing anything. The league, the referees got to be more diligent of seeing what the Eagles are doing. If they're false starting, if they're not getting into the end zone, if they fumble the football, defenses are always offsides. Defenses are always jumping over to try to stop Hurts from being, getting into the end zone. Really, honestly, you can see the defenses try more likely to try to, put more aggression to the tush push than the tush push is being aggressive to the defense. And I'm like, if you take this away, you might as well take the quarterback sneak away, because the quarterback sneak is basically, honestly, the tush push. The only thing about it is that you can't help a player being pushed into the end zone, which the tush push actually does. Now, I'm not against the tush push. I believe it's a good win-win for the Eagles. But the thing is that you can actually stop the tush push. But teams hasn't figured that out yet. And you see a lot of other teams are using the tush push too, but they're using it in their own way. But like I said, we need to stop worrying about Kansas City. The game's over. It's time to move on to the Rams after that game, after that game, after that game, and see if the Eagles can be 5-0. I believe the Eagles are not going to be 5-0. I believe the Eagles will lose a game probably in a few weeks, because a loss is a loss. So we can take it in the chin. As long as we still are number one in our division, Dallas is struggling. Washington's struggling. The Giants really is a good. I'm seeing these teams. They're really good in the NFC East. The Dallas Cowboys, the Washington Redskins, the Giants. They're really good teams. You see, Russell Wilson is coming back to be Russell Wilson. The Washington defense is still good. Dallas, I don't. Like I always say, I don't believe nothing's wrong with Prescott. I think Prescott is just a quarterback. He reminds me a lot of Tony Romo, but a little bit. I think Prescott can actually win Dallas games, but not the playoffs. But I believe that the NFC East is the best division in the NFL right now, because we got all these quality teams with good defenses. I'm talking about the NFC East has some good quality defensive teams. So a lot of the Eagles, Dallas, Washington, and the Giants are going to probably win games with their defense and probably struggle with their offense, because I think it's harder when you get these new coordinators to actually form to get wins. And the Eagles offense coordinator, I don't know nothing about him. I'm getting used to, he's all right, but in some positions you look at it like, why is he doing this? Why he's doing that? But he's learning his team. I believe the Eagles need to run the football. Passing the football, okay. You want to get downfield, put some points up quick like they did last year. But the Eagles have the best offensive line in football. They can put up 100 to 200 yards in rushing from scrimmage. But they have to be diligent and have to want to run the football. And I know teams, the media loves the passing, like they love three-point shooting in the NBA. They want quick scoring. They want to put up 1,000 points like the Bears did, the Lions did to the Bears when they put up 52. No, I want to win. I want to win. I don't give a fuck if the Eagles win 6-0. I want to win. I don't care about 50 points. I don't care about 60 points. I don't care about how many passes Devontae get, Brown get. I want to see a good game, like defensive offense, and the Eagles win. And the Eagle fans are happy. And stop talking about how Hurts struggled, how the Eagles offense is not going to do this or do that in the playoffs. Let's win. Let's see how far our offense gets through the regular season, because I believe our offense is going to start revving soon. It just takes time because of new offense coordinator, which Hurts has been going through these offense coordinators like motherfucking rags, like dirty rags. And now we're seeing what the Eagles could do in the next few games. Really, like I said, the Eagles got the fourth hardest schedule in the NFL. It takes time. Let's move on from Kansas City. Good win. But it's time to move the fuck on. Let's leave that in the past. Like everybody's saying, we're trying to leave the Super Bowl alone. We won the Super Bowl. We're trying to get that out of our heads. And we're trying to develop a new season to try to get back to the Super Bowl. So why are Eagle fans not doing that? Why is the media still pressing the Eagles to score 66 to 70 points? It's not going to happen. We're not going to blow teams the fuck out. We're going to win with close games. Our defense is going to go out there and play hard. Hurts is going to go out there and do what he's going to do to try to get a win. Brown needs to wake the fuck up and stop worrying about getting like 99 catches. Devontae, I think he doesn't worry about that shit. Goddard needs to be healthy. Our offensive line is healthy. We want to keep that. This curse, what everybody talking about, the Madden curse with Barkley, I believe Barkley could get through this Madden curse because we got backup running backs that are really good. And we just need to go out there and win. Winning should make people happy, not putting up 60, 70 points because it's not going to do nothing. To make only media look at us as, oh, we're the best team in the NFL. I don't believe the Eagles are the best team in the NFL. I don't think we are. I believe that you got other teams out there that are better than the Eagles right now because they're putting up points and the Eagles are struggling. And, we could win games by just hard fought, grind out games, but we got to have a game that we're going to have to put up at least about 20 to 30 points. And it's going to have to be soon because we're going to go against teams that's going to try to put up points on us. And our defense can only hold teams to a certain amount of points, but not for very long. So we need to go out there and keep on winning. And the Eagle fans need to stop being frustrated. We're winning games. We're 2-0. We did this last year where we struggled out the gates, even though Barkley was killing everybody, but we were struggling out the gates. Now we're doing the same thing this year because we have a new coordinator. You got to understand, we have a new, fresh coordinator. We're not going to come out and just blow teams the fuck out because, we know more went to the Saints. And, he's doing he's coaching well, but we don't have that same system. So we need to just be diligent. We're going to be all right. We're going to be all right. We'll probably lose a couple of games by close margins. Maybe we'll get blown out. Maybe the Eagles will wake up once they get blown out and we'll start scoring a whole bunch of points. But right now, the Eagles are 2-0. The Eagles beat the team that we feel is the team that we should beat. Really, I believe Buffalo and Baltimore and other teams in the AFC is better than Kansas City. And Mahomes is a great quarterback, but I still think that Allen is better than him. Barrow got hurt. I don't know. He might be out for the season or a couple of games because they said that he has a toe injury. I believe Barrow is one of the great quarterbacks out there, but he got hurt. You still have Jackson. He still could get his team to the playoffs. I believe they can get his team to a Super Bowl. But like I said, these teams are great teams. We got other teams we're battling with Detroit. We're battling with, still with the 49ers. We still battle with these teams that have, that we haven't played yet. So we need to get on our high horse and get prepared for these games and stop worrying about these past games and move the fuck on to the next game. And I believe the Eagles can win in a stretch of winning five games. And, maybe we could get to that point of getting a better seat in the playoffs to win home field, to try to get to the Super Bowl, to get to play 2 games to get to the Super Bowl. And we could probably win the Super Bowl again. But right now, it's the 3rd game of the season. We play the Rams. Let's move on to them, see what we could do with them. Because that's a good team over there, too, even though they're not putting up 60, 70 points. But they're still a good team. And we're going to play some real good, better teams in the future. So they're going to be nightly televised, or they're going to be some afternoon games that we have to go out there and win and keep our seeding the way we want to keep our seeding. And for us as Philly fans, we should root our team on, but we got to understand what we are dealing with through this regular season, not like last season, where we had a little easier schedule. Now we have a harder schedule. And I love it because it's going to put pressure on the Eagles to see if we can get to the Super Bowl with a little better schedule than having these easy ass schedules, because they always talk about, oh, the Eagles got an easy schedule. They didn't play nobody. Hurts didn't do this and Hurts didn't do that. Hurts is not a top 5 quarterback. He's not a top 3 quarterback. You still got Allen. You still got Jackson. The Eagles team is not that great. We have to prove that we can win on the road more than we can win at home. Once the Eagles start winning on the road, then we get respect of us winning at home. But it's going to be a long season. Like I said, it's 17 games, and I love it because 17 games will actually show where the Eagles are in this division and the NFC East, or probably in the whole NFL. Bless to everybody out there, true Eagle fan, right here for since 1980. Ride or die. Love all my Eagle fans. All these Dallas fans that are popping out the woodwork, like for some freaking reason because they played against the Giants, which the Giants should have won that game. They Dallas is blessed with having a kicker that kicked a 64 and a 65-yard field goal to keep Dallas in the game, which I believe the Giants should have got the ball first instead of motherfucking Russell Wilson saying, no, we don't want the ball first. I believe that the Giants could have won the game if they would have got the ball first. Because you get the ball on the 30-yard line, the 35-yard line. So that put them already in a position to even get a chance to win the game, even though that they know that the teams both get the ball. The Giants will get the ball, then the Dallas will get the ball to see if they can score, even if it's a field goal. But the Giants could have won that game yesterday. And I think it's greed. And I think that Russell Wilson should have kept his mouth shut, should have just got the ball first, went down the field, kicked the field goal, and let their defense try to stop Dallas, even though Dallas couldn't be stopped because it was going back and forth, back and forth. But the Giants should have won that game yesterday. I'm very upset at the Giants that they lost that game. And Russell Wilson, to me, should have kept his mouth shut and said, listen, we want the ball first. Let's see if our offense could go down here and put some points on the board so we can actually see we can win this game, you know, on a walk off. But it didn't happen. Bless to everybody out there, true Eagle fans. Just subscribe to my channel, whatever y'all want to do is for free. Bless.